Hello, everybody. If you want to read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you. Short Story 649, The Great Chicken Disaster. Intermediate. Barry lived alone in his small flat, and he liked it that way. He had a simple routine, but then Geraldine moved in next door. She was elegant, with a perfect smile and a calm, confident voice. Barry immediately wanted to impress her. He decided a gourmet dinner was the way to do it. He would make a perfect roast chicken with all the trimmings. He found a recipe online that promised to be foolproof. Barry was a terrible cook, so this was exactly what he needed. His previous attempts at cooking had ended with burnt toast and melted plastic spoons. He spent all afternoon preparing. He bought a beautiful chicken, fresh potatoes, and a fancy bottle of wine. He put on his best navy jumper and his cleanest beige trousers. The kitchen was a complete mess, with flour on the floor and pots stacked high, but he felt like a professional chef. He even lit a fancy scented candle to make the flat smell good. At 7 o'clock, Geraldine knocked on the door. "Hello, Barry," she said, smiling brightly. "It smells amazing in here. Are you a talented cook?" Barry's face went white. He had completely forgotten to turn on the oven. The chicken was still raw, sitting in a cold oven. He had been so focused on looking the part, he had forgotten the most important part of the task. "Thank you," he said, trying to be calm. "Just give me one moment. I think the timer has gone off." He rushed back to the kitchen. In his panic, he knocked over the bottle of wine. A large red stain spread across his clean trousers, looking like a terrible accident. Then, as he tried to put the tea towel over the mess, the cloth caught on the scented candle and caught fire. The smoke alarm started screaming, a loud, terrible, ear-splitting noise. Geraldine walked in. She saw the smoking tea towel, the uncooked chicken in the cold oven, the pile of dirty pots, and the huge wine stain on Barry's trousers. Barry just stood there, looking at the floor, completely embarrassed and defeated. Geraldine didn't say a word at first. She looked at the scene, then looked at Barry, and a small smile appeared. Then the smile grew into a full, loud laugh that filled the small kitchen. "A culinary disaster, Barry," she said, still laughing. Barry sighed and looked at her. "Yes, a complete and total disaster." "Well," Geraldine said, taking a deep breath to stop laughing, "how about we forget this and just order a pizza? My treat." Barry looked at her, his expression slowly changing from embarrassment to relief. He started to laugh too. It was the best idea he had heard all day. And that was the start of a wonderful, relaxed friendship, based on a terrible roast chicken and a very funny disaster. Vocabulary notes. Gourmet, adjective, meaning high quality, elegant, or fancy, especially related to food. Example, he decided a gourmet dinner was the way to do it. Similar words, high class, fine dining, deluxe, Epicurean. Foolproof, adjective, meaning so simple and easy to do that it cannot fail. Example, he found a recipe online that promised to be foolproof. Similar words, infallible, idiot-proof, simple, reliable. To look the part, idiom, meaning to appear or dress in a way that is appropriate for a certain job or situation. Example, he had been so focused on looking the part, he had forgotten the most important part of the task. Similar words, to fit the role, to look professional, to dress appropriately. Embarrassed, adjective, meaning feeling shy, awkward, or ashamed, especially in a social situation. Example: Barry just stood there, looking at the floor, completely embarrassed and defeated. Similar words: ashamed, humiliated, flustered, mortified. Relief, noun, meaning a feeling of happiness or calm after a difficult or unpleasant situation has ended. Example: he started to laugh too. It was the best idea he had heard all day. The text here says his expression slowly changing from embarrassment to relief. Similar words: comfort, ease, calm, solace. Story written by Gemini AI. Image created by onemin.ai. To read all the stories in full, please go to www.steveuk.blog. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. Today, we're diving into a really fun story called The Great Chicken Disaster. And trust me, it's got a brilliant lesson on how sometimes failing spectacularly can be way, way better than being perfect. So let's get right into it. So let me just ask you this. Have you ever tried just a little too hard to impress someone? You know what I mean, right? You plan out every single detail, you're aiming for absolute perfection, and then it all just goes completely wonderfully wrong. If that sounds familiar, you are absolutely going to love this story. Okay, so let's set the stage here with Act 1, which is called The Performance. And this is all about the grand plan, a plan for total perfection. Or, that was the idea anyway. So let's meet our guy, Barry. He lives a pretty quiet, simple life, but his whole world gets shaken up when Geraldine moves in next door. I mean, she's elegant, she's confident, and Barry is immediately dead set on impressing her. His big idea? He's going to make her a perfect gourmet dinner. And we're not just talking about any dinner. Barry is aiming for gourmet. And, this isn't really about the food itself. It's about projecting this image of sophistication and class. He's setting the bar impossibly high for himself right from the start. You can just feel the pressure building. And this just lays out the problem so perfectly. In his head, Barry sees himself as this professional chef, effortlessly whipping up a gourmet roast chicken. But his actual track record in the kitchen, well, it's more like burnt toast and, melted plastic spoons. This huge gap between his vision and his reality is exactly where things start to get interesting. So, to try and bridge that massive gap, he finds what he thinks is a foolproof recipe. One that's so simple it supposedly cannot fail. And you can already see it coming, can't you? The second you label something foolproof, the universe just loves to go, challenge accepted. And this is really the crucial mistake he makes. Barry gets totally obsessed with the performance of it all. He's got the nice clothes, the scented candle. He's totally focused on looking the part, so much so that he completely overlooks the one thing he's actually supposed to be doing. And that brings us right into Act 2, the collapse. Or, as I like to call it, the comedy of errors. This is where that perfect, foolproof plan smacks right into reality. And there it is, the fatal flaw. After all that work, all that focus on just looking good, Geraldine knocks on the door, and in that moment, Barry realizes he never actually turned on the oven. That beautiful gourmet chicken is just sitting there, totally raw. Now, what's so great about this slide is you see how one tiny mistake just triggers this total disaster cascade. In his panic, he runs to the kitchen, immediately knocks over the wine, staining his pants. Then he grabs a tea towel to clean it up, but it catches fire on the candle he lit. And for the grand finale, the smoke alarm just starts screaming. It is absolute total chaos. Which leads us beautifully to Act 3, The Connection. And that subtitle says everything you need to know: authenticity over perfection. Because at this point, the performance is officially over. So Geraldine walks into this scene of utter mayhem. You've got the raw chicken, the spilled wine, a smoking towel, and what does she say? She doesn't say, "What a mess," or "I'm out of here." She just asks this perfect, kind of amused question: a culinary disaster, Barry? And right then and there, all of Barry's careful plans just crumble into pure embarrassment. He's just standing there, completely mortified, right? He's expecting her to judge him, to ridicule him, maybe even just to walk right out the door. This is his absolute worst-case social scenario. But here's the twist, and it is just beautiful. Barry was totally braced for judgment, for pity, for disappointment, and instead, he got the one thing he never ever expected: genuine, warm, shared laughter. And man, can you just imagine the wave of relief that washes over him? All that pressure he put on himself to be the perfect host, just poof, it disappears. In the middle of this complete disaster, he's finally actually able to just be himself. And Geraldine's response is just perfect. How about we forget this and just order a pizza? My treat. It just completely diffuses the whole situation. It's not an offer of judgment. It's an offer of partnership. It's, hey, let's figure this out together. And that's really the point of the whole story. The disaster wasn't the end. It was the beginning. It became the foundation for a really wonderful, relaxed friendship. You know, the kind of friendship that a perfect dinner probably never would have created. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's that chasing perfection just creates a ton of pressure, but allowing yourself to be vulnerable, that's what actually creates a real connection. Because at the end of the day, a shared laugh over a total mess is worth so much more than some stuffy, perfect gourmet meal. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. When was the last time a failure in your own life, big or small, actually led to some kind of unexpected success or a surprising new connection? It's a really powerful question, and definitely one worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.